Picture this. Me and Annie in the car, my mom driving us for 7 hours, us both reading Emily Henry, and my mom silently, and my mom being like,
it's so nice having people in the car so you have someone to talk to.
And us just being like, mm-hmm.
Could you turn the music down a little bit?
Hi, welcome to Lizard's Library. I'm the Lizard, and this is Annie, my best book friend, and the other half of Liz and Annie books, or like the other 10%. Does that mean to say that?
I think it's less than 10%.
We're gonna be talking about Emily Henry. Also, introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Annie. I am apparently only Liz's book friend. We love these books.
Yeah, we both love Emily Henry. We're big stans, so this video is probably not gonna be objective at all. It's just our favorable opinion.
We're telling you from the beginning we love them, and we love her.
She's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment.
We're gonna tell you about these books, and Emily Henry is like so hyped up on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
So we kind of already spoiled it. We already said she is worth the hype, but
is she?
Is she?
Watch till the end to find out.
Does her new book live up to the hype? That's another thing that has been debated.
A little controversial.
I've seen some people not a fan of her newest book.
And we were like staying up late waiting for that one to drop because we read through all of them in 48 hours. Not total. That's a little bit of a lie.
You just lied.
Added to Yes, we did wait up.
You bought this book yesterday. It's been out for a month.
But then I read through it in like 48 hours. And you did too.
Oh yeah, every single one of these books that I've read of hers have been read.
That's what I meant.
Like the course of 48 hours.
Right.
I've read Beach Read and People Meet on Vacation twice.
Yeah, I haven't. Also, the covers are just really pretty. I'm so glad they don't do like real people on these. I don't like it when people do. But do you know who I pictured this girl to be?
Me?
No. Just kidding, maybe, but not really. I pictured the other woman.
Cameron Diaz?
Yes, that's what I was picturing for
I
this.
can see that. She's like the businesswoman. And
yeah, and because they kept being like platinum blonde.
Yeah.
And that's what I was picturing.
I just picture me. Do you ever picture people you know?
Sometimes people that I can like turn into a character.
Yeah.
That sounds like an issue.
People I can use for my own personal fantasies.
Yeah, easy.
Let's talk about
the first
Beach Read first, and we'll give a synopsis. I'll give a synopsis because Annie's kind of bad.
No, I'm not. I'm amazing at them. This is an argument. Okay, sometimes I go into a lot of details.
You just tell the whole plot.
Because it's so good.
Okay, so this follows our protagonist, January Andrews, who her father just passed away, and she finds out that he was having an affair, and he has a secret beach house with the other woman. She's devastated. She's a writer, and she's going through a bit of a writing slump, struggling to write anything new. Her publisher and editor on her to get a new book to them. She goes to this beach house where her dad had this affair, and next door to her is none other than Augustus Everett, who is like her nemesis. But Emily Henry, okay, I will say the enemies, it's a loose definition of the word enemy.
It's never really like enemy. It's kind of like enemy.
Yeah, she's like, the sexy neighbor. I hate
Who
them
I
so
hate.
much. She's like, sure you do. Basically, he is also a writer, and he writes darker books.
They're like totally different genres. He like makes fun of her.
In college, he called her like a fairy princess or something, and she got her feelings all butthurt and then like held a grudge against him for 5 years.
Right, healthy.
The books that she writes are like romance, happily ever after, and she's always believed in happy endings until this death and the secrets have come out about her family, so she's sort of doubting that. But they challenge each other to switch genres for the summer. So she's gonna try to write his dark, realistic fiction, and he's gonna try to write a happy ending.
Yeah, okay, that was a little I would have gone into so many details.
And then when she pulls up at the book club.
I flew through this one. I really liked it. The only thing that's kind of interesting, which I feel like a lot of people, don't want to speak for the population, but the title Beach Read makes you think that it's going to be like, I want to read it on a beach. And for me, the book made me want to read it in like a rainy day coffee shop because it's deep. She's like mourning her father and she's angry at him.
It's not the fluffy, light romance that you expect from the cover or the title.
But it also like dug deeper than I think most romance books do.
And I actually like that now. The first time that I read it, I think my mindset and expectations contributed to me not liking it as much. And it talked a lot about grief and like depression and
you're like,
yeah. But then I reread it recently and I loved it. And I really like those parts of it because I think it adds more depth and substance
Yeah.
than just like predictable romance.
Yeah, I thought so too. They go into this whole cult thing, and I just remember reading it and being like, this is so funny that this is in like a romance novel, because you just don't get stuff like that out of a book like this.
It's also the trope of grump and sunshine, which I love, and I loved Augustus, who's the love interest.
And like their
he is
humor,
a doll.
we were talking about this, their banter is so good.
Oh yeah. Emily Henry writes really good banter. I was laughing out loud.
Yeah, I was last night when I was... Only thing with this one was I was flying through it, and then the ending was a little bit slow for me. I think that there were so many things out there that had to be wrapped up, and she wanted to do them all justice, but then it also probably was because I'd read it for like 6 hours straight.
Yeah,
but I just like stopped. I just stopped.
Yeah.
And then literally put it aside for a week. And then when I was ready, I picked it up and finished the whole thing and was like, yeah, that was amazing. But I needed a little breather.
I think the climax came too early. You have these two plots. You've got January dealing with this grief of her dad and who he was, and you have the romance, obviously. The romance came to fruition so much earlier, and then it felt like an ending, but then there were like
but then you're like,
a few chapters
what keeps
until
going?
the end kind of dragged out.
Yeah, I think the end dragged out a little bit too.
But overall, it was a good read. I mean, this is her introduction.
Yeah, killed it.
This is
First
her first
book.
adult book. Next.
People we meet on vacation.
Do you want to describe this?
Maybe you describe it. It's been a hot second.
Okay, so actually this was inspired by When Harry Met Sally, which is one of my favorite rom-com movies.
We should watch that tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's on Netflix now. Have you seen that before? Friends to lovers trope, and it follows Poppy and Alex, who are best friends. They meet in college on a road trip. They decide that they want to take a trip together every single summer, and Alex is very type A, Poppy is not, but Poppy is, she writes for like a travel magazine. She gets to like go on these trips.
She's
for
like
work.
wild, adventure, crazy.
Yeah.
And he's like quiet.
Yeah, he's a teacher. And basically when we meet Poppy, she is in a bit of a rut. She's not happy. She's trying to figure out why. And she thinks and realizes that she misses Alex. They haven't gone on a trip in 2 years. You don't know why. She decides to call him up and invite him on a new trip. And they go together, and it jumps back to their previous trips. But then also on this current trip, you sort of see this conflict unfold, and like what went wrong 2 years ago that made them not talk to each other for so long.
I loved this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a good summary. I love Friends to Lovers was so sweet.
Yeah, and slow burn.
It was such a slow burn. I feel like this one of the three was the biggest slow burn. I was like reading it and I was like on the beach with my family. We should have done. Yeah, and okay, did you like that it jumped back and forth?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd get a little mad because I'd be like, wait, what?
Right, it does it so well because you're like really into this and you're like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next? And then it's like 4 years ago and you're like, what the?
Yeah.
But I don't care about 4 years ago.
Right, but then at the end you're like, wait, this story was so good, and then you're like, okay, back to now. I really like the jumping. I like how she did it. It did get a little like sometimes I'd be like, oh,
yeah, it made it, I think, easier to read quickly because you weren't bored of this one storyline.
Yeah.
You were continually wanting to find out what happened next.
Also, kind of like the beach read, how they had like a whole side. I don't know, there's more going on just than their romance. This one was interesting because there were just details about traveling in places that I've never been to, and I mean, obviously the whole point of reading, it just like takes me to a whole different world that I can dream up in my head, and this one did that so well because it just gave me so many different scenes to think about and places that I was like, yeah, we're going to that one day, and just adventures. It was a good one.
I read it in like a day.
I did too.
It was an easy read. I enjoyed it. I think that, I don't know, I think this one was the most romance. They're all romance, but this one I feel like didn't have as much of a side plot in it, and it wasn't as heavy. I mean, there was a whole like
That
was so random.
That was so random.
I was kind of like, wait, what?
I totally forgot about that.
And that was what it was that made them not talk for 2 years.
Ooh.
This is spoiler free.
We don't do that to y'all.
I think this one would be a good movie.
I'll be in it. I loved Alex too. He was a good character.
He's like a good guy. When he carries her down the mountain, when she breaks her ankle, Annie broke her ankle recently.
But no one carried me. Also, it's funny because I've given it to people and been like,
This is the best book ever. Read it.
and it's just funny when people are like,
It was pretty good.
and I'm like, What did
That's
you
how
say?
I am. I read this and I was like 5 stars immediately, and then Evelyn was like,
I'm surprised you liked that.
and I was like,
I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?
that's blasphemy.
Yeah, you're
Don't
talking
insult
about
me
my
in
son.
my house.
Yeah. This one's definitely of the three the lightest.
This is the beachiest read.
Yeah, for sure.
Which brings us to book lovers.
Oh, I
You
can
wanna
do this
it?
one.
She'll do this one.
Okay, I'm kind of nervous.
I'll just cut out if it gets too long.
Okay, sounds good. It's basically around this girl, Nora Stevens, and she lives in New York. She's in her 30s, and she is a literary agent, and she is just different than the other girls in the other books by far. She's just like all work. Also, it's interesting when she describes herself in kind of in the beginning of like all those tropes and books on there's always this girl that isn't the right one, and the guy like is dating this girl, and then he finds the one, and she's like, I am that girl that isn't the right one. Because
She's
I'm
the
work
Cameron
obsessed.
Diaz.
Yeah, she is.
That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's work obsessed. She okay, I'm so bad at this. Yeah, it's a love
Her
story.
enemy.
So basically there's this guy also in New York, Charlie Lastra, and he is a editor, and they just like have this meeting in the beginning and do not hit it off. And then the whole thing is that he turns down the book that she's trying to sell, and then it like jumps to 2 years later and that book has like super made it. So it's kind of like a hunt, screw you. And she has a sister named Libby. Nora and Libby are super different but super close, and Libby plans this trip to go to the hometown of that book that made it big, and it's like this little town in, am I giving too many details?
No, you're doing
North
great.
Carolina. Basically,
And guess who's there?
shocker. And she's like, that looks a lot like my enemy.
Yeah.
Charlie
This guy that I haven't
Lastra.
seen in 2 years.
And then she like messages him. That was a little cheese because I was like, I feel like you wouldn't do that in real life. Then it just turns into the 4 weeks that she has there. You'll have to read it to find out.
It's called Book Lovers. They work in books and there are like all these literary references, and I just loved it because as a lover of books, I loved reading about somebody else also loving books, and the way that she described her favorites was how I felt about this one. And I felt like I was a part of an inside joke every time I understood references. This book is what I wanted Beach Read to be. Hey, these are kind of the same plot, honestly. They're very similar, but I liked the girl in this one a lot better. This one is sort of an homage to books and book lovers. You're in books. Of course you don't have a life. None of us do. There's always something too good to read.
Also, it's interesting because Liz relates more to Nora and I relate a little bit more to Libby, the sister. But I love reading books that with people that are different than me. Like it kind of makes me fly through it. Oh, I underlined this to send to you. The next 15 minutes are devoted to a detailed description of Libby's dreams.
That's so you.
That's so me. I have such detailed dreams.
And she loves to tell me about them.
And nobody cares, and I realize that.
I loved the sister relationship. I love like a platonic female relationship, and also I have a sister and I really just love that aspect.
Also, it's so funny. Like,
Yeah.
I was laughing out loud many times reading this book because the humor, it's just my type of humor. That like quick-witted, sarcastic, and it was so
laughing.
easy.
I was laughing out loud too on the beach, and my family was like, "What you reading? It sounds funny."
What's that?
My only caveat to this book is that I think Charlie, I liked him, he was cute, but I felt like he was just sort of a prop for the romance. Like he was just kind of there to be like whatever the book needed, and he didn't feel as much of a real person as her other characters sometimes do. He was a little flat, but I still loved him.
Also, there were just parts that were like a little cheese, but I know that that's just like the genre, you're gonna get that and stuff, but there were definitely moments where I was like, I don't know if that would happen.
But I felt like this one had more like feminism to it. It wasn't just all of these girls who were like immediately falling head over heels, which I guess she did, but like she was still like, I felt like they were more equals. I don't know, they call her the Shark, and she's kind of a bitch, and she's not what women are supposed to be, but she doesn't care, and that's okay.
And she doesn't want the like easy country life with 5 kids, and that's kind of controversial for women even now. A lot of it's just kind of relatable because it's like a lot of guys are just looking for that, like, and she's not that. But also there's people who don't want that, and it's not even, but kind of all of these books are kind of about that. It's like she is finding someone and figuring that out, but then she's also learning so much about herself independently. Also, what I loved in this, some books you don't read as much as live, and I feel that way. In this book, okay, remember in Beach Read, the main character is January, and she's trying to come out with this book. They mention her in this book, and I was like,
When worlds collide.
what? Charlie is the editor of January's books. And I was just like, did the author even know she did this? Like, am I just catching this? I just like that they connected it. So yeah, big fans. Also exciting because book lovers, what's it called?
Dedication.
Okay. Also exciting because book lovers, the dedication says,
Take 3.
wind it back. New shit, this book isn't for you. I already know which one will be for you, so you have to wait. Sweet, and also, bring it on, Emily Henry. We will be here.
I'm so excited.
Waiting for the next one.
Okay, I think we should do our rankings, and I think they're gonna be different.
Yeah, me too, but I don't know how I'm gonna do it.
But I know what yours are gonna be, and I know what mine are gonna be. I'll do it from bottom to top.
Okay.
Do
For the bottom.
that.
On the bottom?
People we meet on vacation. Not because I didn't like it. I loved it, obviously, and I loved all of these books. It's really hard to rank them, but for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna make us.
Yeah, I don't know why you're making it. They're all so good.
I think of the 3, I loved this one the least. Next on the pyramid, Beach Read. I loved Gus though. I think if I was ranking love interests, up top. Definitely. And I gotta say, this is a spoiler, so I can't say it. Which leaves us with book lovers on top, because I'm a book lover and I stand this book. And I have been seeing slander for book lovers and I won't stand for it.
So that's that. Shoot, Liz. You know what I'm gonna do?
Yeah.
Why do you, sometimes you do this with me and you just know my mind before I know it.
I think yours is gonna be the opposite of mine.
Okay, here's mine. Total mystery. Hear me out. I think this is gonna be at the bottom. Because I don't even it was such a good book, but I think there were parts of this that were cheese that I was like, whereas the other ones had cheese and I was like eating it up. I loved it. I just loved it third. Second place, Beach Read. It was so good and it made me have feelings, and
Which Annie never has.
which I'm known to be a shark, believe it or not. Actually, I'm sure you all believe it. Very intimidating. I loved the guy in this. I liked too this one, like diving into what they're writing and like getting to just view into their world. And I felt like I was reading a book through a book, which was cool. On top, it's people we meet on vacation. I just loved her. This one's on top because I just flew through it. I read it at the beach. Like, it was definitely the situation I was into. I just love friends to lovers. It was just so good. Like, these are so good too, but this showed that friends to lovers can be built up so much too. I'm not an enemies to lover person because I don't have a lot of enemies.
I just like the tension.
But then there was tension in the friends to lovers because you don't want to break the friendship.
Right.
But then you do want to break the friendship.
No, don't break the friendship. That was good.
We love books and we always talk about books with each other. You should read them. Emily Henry, we love you.
Thank you for watching. Follow us on Instagram.
Like and subscribe.
And I'll see you next time. Bye. It looks kind of sterile. Why?
Should I be lower? Also, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to like read through it.
Just trying to like read the
Quick,
book
quick,
real
quick,
before